I have these friends, Dan and Sheila. They're podcast hosts.
Welcome to Profiling Criminal Minds. I'm Dan.
And I'm Sheila, I think, for this episode.
It's up to you. I'm
going to
judge.
be Sheila. I'm going to be Sheila.
So, as promised in our recap of Season 17, we have decided to put together our top 10 lists of the original 334 episodes of Criminal Minds. So, no spin-off shows, no evolution, just the original series. And the inspiration from this was, again, it's the episode Piranha that we're not going to get into Piranha again. By now, hopefully you know how we feel about Piranha. But it's very strange because the inspiration with this is I was looking for something to do right before we started the show. We ran out of time before season 17 started. We had just enough time to do our season 16 recap episode before we started season 17. And the week before or 2 weeks before it started, Screen Rant published a list, and it got sent to me on my phone, of the 10 best episodes of Criminal Minds ranked counting down. And so I bookmarked it, and I'm like, we'll do this later. And then the craziest thing happened. During season 17, they went back and they edited this list to add Piranha to their list of the best 10 episodes of all time. And the very fact that they added Piranha to it, I'm like, no, we've got to tell people what the actual 10 best episodes are. And the weird part is, and I think you experienced the same thing, I had a really hard time turning it down to just 10 episodes.
Well, it's not even that. Like, I look at some of mine, it's a whole different ballgame when you're trying to kind of rank them and you're trying to figure out, okay, how am I ranking them? A lot of this is very, very personal, and you will see a theme in mine. Probably will see a theme in yours.
Oh, definitely.
And they may be different. I'm curious to see, because we didn't do this together. Like, no. I have my top 10. And
I have no idea what your lists are. You have no idea what mine are. No. And so how we're going to do this, we're going to go over the Screen Rant list, then we're going to talk about our runners-up, and then we are going to do our top 10s. One at a time, her 10, my 10, so on and so forth. And because we don't know, if any of our list shows up on the other one's list higher, we're going to defer talking about it until we get to the higher point on the list. So, for example, if the inspiration was my number 2 and her number 9, when she says, when she says the inspiration, I would say at number 9, I would say, hold on, that's higher on my list, and we'll talk about it when we get there. Obviously, I've used that as an example of something that could never happen. But likewise, if episodes that are on our top 10 show up in the Screen Rant list, we're not going to talk about it when we're discussing the Screen Rant list. We're going to save it. So we're going to veto as we go. All right. So starting with number 10 on their list is Piranha.
What?
Yeah, they think it's the 10 best episode of Criminal Minds ever.
Hurrah?
Piranha.
Oh, Piranha.
The thing we've been talking about this whole time.
Never mind.
It's fine. All right. Here's one that didn't make my list, but I understand why people love it. Entropy.
I didn't make my list either. Isn't that funny? But I understand.
I get it. Here's the thing. And why I didn't put on my list is they have amazing chemistry. Like, the two of them are so good together. Mm-hmm. But, like, the assassin plotline is such a disaster. And the plotline of the episode about the trying to trap in the bar, and there's a bomb, and like they're the world's most uncatchable assassins, but they all just live in the same house. Like,
no, it was a terrible episode.
But
it had this one segment.
No, but most of the episode is this compelling back and forth between these two actors doing these wonderful performances. But it's not a good episode. No,
I mean, I don't like it. Okay, I could rewatch it if I had to rewatch it, but it wouldn't be something that I'd go and rewatch because, well, Reed and, Aubrey Plaza and yes, are talking. It just doesn't track for me. But I do understand why people
love this episode.
High rated. It is very high rated. One of the few. There's only 4 or 5 that are really high rated.
Yeah, and it's
on
definitely one of
IMDb.
them. I get it. Like, I get why fans are obsessed with this episode.
Yeah.
It's got the most Goobler content of almost any episode in the show. All right. Next, 8. I don't understand how this is on the list. The episode 200.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, so
know,
far,
right?
no overlap.
No, not a lot of danger yet.
No.
Yes. 200. The JJ gets tortured. Hilo from Battlestar Galactica is a rapist and murderer. It's just a terrible, like, it's not a good episode.
It's just a terrible episode. I just sort of rewatched it. I kind of whipped through it.
Yeah. And
7?
and it really hurt that they weren't able to get him back for her flashback
the
episode.
follow-up. Yeah.
And then they had to use the torturer instead, a character who is unimportant.
Yes.
And it's very weird.
Yeah,
All right, 7. We're going to talk about this later. It belongs in this list. Revelations. Like, no, it belongs on the list. We're going to talk about it later. I don't understand how you don't say, like, just say the big game / Revelations. Like, it's one episode. You know, it's fine. We're going to talk about it later, obviously. Profiler, profiled. Yeah, obviously we're going to be talking about that later.
Yep.
Okay, here's one that you might not be expecting to talk about later, and I'm glad to see it on the list. Lauren.
Oh, okay. So it's on your list.
It is. Well,
okay.
Yeah. Lauren is going to get talked about later.
Okay.
Number 4. Penelope. I don't see it. The one where Penelope gets shot.
Well, it's like Entropy.
Yeah. Like people, they love it.
Everybody loves Penelope.
And so they love the episode. Yeah. I don't see it. Especially because it's built around the most ridiculous idea in the world. Like, that he found out that someone was looking into a bunch of people who got randomly shot. So he's like, I know how I'll get out of being caught for these random shootings I'm doing by publicly being seen with the woman investigating my shootings and then murdering her in public.
No.
It's such a dumb episode.
Yeah.
No, but that's their number 4. All right, number 3. I mean, I'm almost sad I didn't put this on any of my lists. I didn't, and maybe I should have. LDSK.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah, I get it.
We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, I would
later.
I could see the argument. We will.
Later.
I'm just saying I understand the argument you could make that LDSK it belongs on this list. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Number 2, not on my list. Don't know if it's on yours, but I completely get it. 100.
Not on my list.
Not on my list either, but I get why the fans love it. Like, it's the last Reaper episode. He beats the Reaper to death, and then he gets a pass from the government. Yeah.
I debated putting it on. Okay, I have to admit, I debated it, but I didn't.
Yeah. Okay, here's my question to you. What do you think is their number 1?
Oh, God, help me. 300?
Of course not. No, I'm saying it because it's on both of our. It's definitely on both of our lists, and it belongs here.
It can't be White Lightning.
No, of course it's not Riding the Lightning.
Riding the Lightning.
No.
I mean.
This would never understand Riding the Lightning.
No. Okay.
I'll just tell you because you're going to kick yourself. It's Moseley Lane.
Well, we're not going to talk about that.
Of course not. But I'm just saying, at least they, were smart enough to put it on there.
Okay, so Moseley Lane is their number 1.
Yeah. So again, it's actually not a bad list. Like, no. I think other than Penelope and Entropy and Lauren, okay, so that's actually 3 episodes. And 200. Okay, so 4 of their 6 episodes, and Piranha. Oh my God, okay. I forgot Piranha was number 1. Number
50%.
50% of their list. No, 50% you can make an argument that they belong on best list. 50%, no, you can't make an argument they belong on the best list. Yeah. All right. Now let's get to it. All right. Let's start with, oh my God. Let's start with your honorable mentions. And anything I've got on either of my lists, I will tell you that we're covering it later.
Okay. Conflicted.
Which one is Conflicted? It's not on my list. Which one is it?
Okay, Conflicted. It's 420.
Okay.
It is, oh, I know. All of a sudden, I can't remember it. It's where Reed is talking to the woman at the very beginning in the office. It's about the little boy who is both a woman and a man.
Oh, Adam
Yeah.
is Conflicted. Oh, okay. Yeah, no. No, I get it. No, you don't even have to. You barely have to explain this. We've said very kind things about Adam in the past. I remember that episode being called Adam. I thought the episode was called Adam.
No, it's called Conflicted.
Okay. That's why I didn't remember. All right.
Okay.
No, I get it completely. Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, Moseley Lane, which we will talk about later, I put it on my runners up.
I'm surprised you didn't put it in your top 10. We're going to talk about it later. But then again,
we
we'll
can
discuss
talk
it when we
about
get
it later.
there. We discuss it when we get there. All right.
Okay. And then I put Hanley Waters.
Which one is it? The woman who's going on a shooting spree.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's such a sad episode.
It is so sad.
Oh. Yeah,
Okay.
no, not on either of my
is.
lists, but yeah, that is an exceptional performance from her.
Oh,
Oh.
I had it on my top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I debated it. I changed it with another one. I went back and forth, and I almost wanted to have runners.
Can I please have a top 11? Yeah.
Yeah, can I have a top 11 because of Hanley Waters?
No, I get it. I completely
But I
get
chose the other one, and I'm still conflicted.
it. Okay. No, it's
Okay.
good. I'm a little ashamed it's not on either of my lists.
Okay, Divining Rod.
Oh, is that the woman who makes people into serial killers by being obsessed with her?
Yes.
Okay, I get it.
I just watched it.
Yeah.
Now I would, if we had done this 6 months ago, I'm not sure it would have been on my list.
On your radar at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had just watched it again, and and we talked about it at the time, but it was more poignant this time than it was the other time.
Okay.
Okay. Next
No, I
one,
get that.
Third Life.
This is my hardest call, was bumping this from my honorable mentions. Like, I had my honorable mentions, and I didn't want them to, I didn't want to have 20 honorable mentions. I originally had 15 honorable mentions. I cut it down to 7 because I thought that was ridiculous.
I have 9.
This was the hardest cut. And if I knew I could have 9, if I thought about that, Third Life would have been on there.
Yeah, well, we didn't talk about, as you can tell, we didn't talk about it. So you ended up with 7?
Yeah, I
so
ended
you
up with
can
7.
add Third Life.
Yeah, I should. Technically, Third Life is now one of my honorable mentions. We don't like where this story went.
No.
We don't like the return of Joe Mantegna's daughter. We thought it was a bad choice for the character in the episode.
Yep.
But I think Third Life itself is a great hour of television.
And, simply because of Reed and of Gia Mantegna. It was just a great, but it didn't make my top 10.
No. Well, I think maybe it could have if they hadn't ruined it with Red Light, Green Light,
Yeah. Because the aftermath is problematic.
It puts a kibosh on, part of our enjoyment of this amazing episode.
Yeah, and they kind of set it up in some ways. So,
no, but I mean, I will never, I said it at the time when we reviewed it, and I didn't know about, Red Light, Green Light when we reviewed it, but it's I was disgusted by the statement that murdering a rapist would corrupt you to the point that you can never come back from it. And that ended up being not just something that Reed said, that is the official position of the show.
Yeah.
A rapist and murderer getting killed is not something that would corrupt you forever. Sorry, just that I still hate the morality of that, but God, it's a good episode.
But, and that should, okay. Morality.
Yeah.
Just a moment. Just a second.
She's got to make a note for that book we're working on.
Third Life.
Third Life definitely comes up, then Red Light, Green Light. Yeah.
Yeah, just a moment.
Yeah.
Red Life.
Just given the number of people David Rossi has murdered. Okay. That's flat out murdered.
Yeah.
Don't give me this
morality crap.
His daughter will be horribly corrupted, but he can just do it all day. That's fine. You know,
yeah, well, do as I say, not what I do.
Like when that woman murders that guy in Butterfly or whatever that episode is called, right? I don't actually remember what the Butterfly episode is called. All right. When she murders him, no one's like, oh yeah, well now she's going to become a serial killer, obviously.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just the morality of that episode is disgusting. All right. Next up.
Okay. So I have A Place at the Table.
Which one is A Place at the Oh, is that Scavenger?
No, that's where the boy goes and kills the family that he felt he should have had.
Yeah, Scavenger. It's the one that's ripped off of the book Scavenger that I'm obsessed with.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I should have made that clear. I forgot it was called A Place at... Yeah, okay. Oh, I mean, there's, like... That is one where I would quibble with some of the plot stuff. Because I always quibble with some of the plot stuff. That's just who I am as a person. Someone who quibbles with the plot stuff. But I get it. Oh, wow.
You know, I mean, again, it's one of those ones I debated for my top 10.
Yeah.
And then I thought, but the plot, I mean, there's some iffy stuff that was problematic. But I mean, I
just love that, like, the killer's there and he just says, I wasn't there, and they don't check out his alibi. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, he doesn't have one. He's the killer.
Yeah, I know.
They just let him go, and they don't check out his alibi. Like, okay.
I know. As I just watched it again, too. Like, some of these things might not have gotten on my list.
Had you not been in the midst of a rewatch, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't finished my rewatch because doing 11 to 15 is problematic.
It's a bit of a slog.
I think that is the last one in 1 to 15.
Yeah.
10. Yeah, 10. It's episode 10, 20. I don't have anything from 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
Ouch. I mean, I agree, but ouch.
Yeah. Okay, right. Then the next one was True Night.
I get it. You've always loved True Night, though.
But it's such a bad episode.
It's such a bad episode.
But I feel
you love that episode. For that guy. Know. It's terrible. It's them doing The Crow. It's them doing The Crow.
I know.
It's one of 2 episodes they did about The Crow. They did 2 episodes about The Crow.
I know, but this one was poignant. I'm told that the remake of The Crow is god awful.
Everyone says so.
Yep.
It's funny. I saw an interview with Ernie Hudson, who was like, "No, I'm not going to go see the remake of The Crow." And he's like, "You know what? I've never seen The Crow." Is like he was like, "I loved making the movie and working with Brandon so much. I could never watch the movie." And he's like, "I love that people love it so much. And I love how important it is to people, but I could never watch it. It would just be too hard."
Yeah.
And then he's like, "I'm not even going to watch the trailer for this new one."
No. Yeah. Anyway.
Although, by the way, Ernie Hudson was willing to be in their other tribute to The Crow, Devil's Night. So there you go. He was in the Criminal Minds tribute to The Crow, Devil's Night. So there you go.
Yes. What can I say?
All
okay.
Right.
And then To Hell and Back.
Oh, that's on my list. So
yeah. Okay. So we're going to discuss that later.
That's on my real list. And I know we're going to have a discussion about why it's not on your real list. No, it's interesting. Actually, this is going to be an interesting thing. So we're going to talk about it when we get there. And it's not going to be long because it's not high on my list. All right.
Okay. Then, of course, I added LDSK.
Oh, LDSK. Okay, now we can talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an argument about LDSK that I think is you can defend. I think it's the first great episode of Criminal Mind. I think it's the first episode where you're like, yeah, the plot doesn't track, and yes, there's no conceivable way he could have escaped after killing that SWAT officer. Like, that's just not possible.
Yeah.
But it's so good when you're actually watching it.
It is a great episode.
It is.
And
I think it's their first great episode.
Yeah.
I really
Oh,
believe
no,
it.
I agree. And we ripped it apart because there are so many problems with it. But as an episode, and the acting, I mean, our killer
Timothy Omenson is in one scene, right? He only, like, it's not like he shows up earlier and they're like, I wonder if that guy's going to... No, he only shows up right at the end as the killer, and you're like, oh, he's so good.
He's so powerful, he overtakes the whole episode.
He makes you forget that he's not in the rest of the episode. That's how good that scene is. Oh, I love him in that. I mean, we love Timothy Omenson anyway. He's one of our favorites, right?
Yeah.
But he's so good in that episode.
Yeah.
And anybody who wants more Timothy Omenson, there's a dumb person.
The Mentalist.
No, you're thinking of Psych. And I was about to say, a dumb person would recommend Psych. A smart person is going to recommend a little show called Gallivant, which is a fantasy musical that he is the third lead in, and it is hilarious. It is hilarious. He sings a bunch. He's unbelievably funny. After the first season where he's the villain, he's basically the main character of the second season, and it's so good. It's unbelievably good. Gallivant, check it out. You owe it to yourself. All right, so that is your also rans?
That's my also rans.
All right.
So now we're going to give your
my
also
rans.
rans.
Exactly. All right, honorable mention. Number one, I honestly thought this might have turned up in your also rans, right? Because I think it is a really interesting episode, and it's one that I didn't like the first time I saw it, and the more I've seen it, the more I respect a whole bunch of it. And that is Derailed.
That's interesting. It doesn't even come, not on my list
any of your lists
at all.
Yeah.
And I debated it. At one point, I went back and I looked at, so that's season 2.
That's season 1. It's like the 9th
Season
episode
1.
of the show ever, because L's in it. It's an L episode.
Yeah, no, it's before. But I debated doing it, and because I loved sort of the Reed stuff and everything else.
Yeah.
And yet
And Jeff Kober.
Jeff Kober
is Leo. And Machine from 8mm as the scientist. Who it's Machine from 8mm, everybody.
Yes.
You might not know that because he wears a mask for most of the movie. It's Machine from 8mm. But just how badly Jason Gideon botches that has always fascinated me. He does everything wrong. And it's it's part of my fascination with the show is it's and I know that he needs to get everything wrong to further the plot, but he just botches this all so terribly, and I kind of love watching that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, yes. So I can see why you put it there.
Yeah.
But I gave you my also rans.
Yeah.
And
I'm sticking with them. There's a reason it's not in my top 10. Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, I'm a little sad it wasn't in your top 10 because it's objectively a terrible episode, but this is where we can put stuff we love. The Black Queen. Yeah.
I thought about the Black Queen. It would be in my not for my top 10 though.
Top 20,
I can't do it. My top 20, yes.
Yeah, of honorable mentions, 100.
I just cannot get over how it begins.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. I looked at it and I love the Garcia stuff.
Yeah. Jeffrey Combs,
but they sold out from beginning to end as far as I'm concerned on the sexual harassment stuff.
Yeah,
and I cannot do it.
You can't forgive them. You can't
forgive.
I get it.
I can't.
And it would never be on my list, okay? It would never be on my real list, but Jeffrey Combs, amazing amounts of Garcia stuff, and the single most baffling line that has ever been in an episode of Criminal Minds, when Hotch is we're going to dismiss all the charges for the murders you actually did and get you off death row, then recharge you and try you again for the murders you didn't do. What? What are you talking about?
It was too much. I can't do it.
I agree.
It might I don't even think it'll make my top 20. I'm sorry.
Okay, I get it. All right. So now something a little less controversial. Okay. Lauren. There you go. Lauren.
Oh, okay. So Lauren is not.
It's not on my top 10. It was close, but I mean, what? It's Ian Doyle, you know?
Okay. It's okay. What it is, your Lauren is like my Hanley Waters.
That's exactly right. Like
I wanted to put
got
it,
close.
but yeah.
It got close. Because, I mean, I love her in it. I love him in it. You know, Ian Doyle is, you know, he's still one of people's favorite characters ever. The man's in 3 episodes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Ian Doyle has stuck with us all this time for a reason. The reason he has stuck with us all this time is because he was a way in to Emily Prentiss as a character that we had not gotten in 5 years. Yeah. And the reason we love Emily Prentiss so much is what Ian Doyle revealed about her. And that's what
one
this
of the
episode
reasons
is about.
she drinks.
So definitely one of the reasons.
And why
she
she does a little weed.
Yep. No, she's got stuff. She's got stuff back there. And I just
between
love that it's like
demonology.
Oh God! But I just love that it's like I love that the constant, frequent reaction, so frequent that even you had it, which is, well, honestly, is it great, you know, being sent in to seduce a guy? No, but if it's Ian Doyle, you can only complain so much.
Yes, that was my
like
reaction.
A statement so popular among the fans that even you said it. All right,
Ian Doyle. What can I say? Okay.
Next up, The Fox.
Yeah, it didn't make mine. I debated. It is also in my top 20. It would make my top 20.
There's a couple of reasons for this, okay? And you tell me what you thought. One, I think it's just a good episode. I think it's a really solid, I think it's a very good episode, right? Mm-hmm. 2, Tony Todd's there, okay? That's a big deal for me personally. Maybe not for everyone. It's a big deal for me personally whenever Tony Todd shows up. But 3, and I think this is the important part, is this is the episode that Matthew Gubler watched and said, that's how I want to do episodes of Criminal Minds. Yeah. And if you watch every one of Matt Gubler's episodes that isn't 200 or A Beautiful Disaster, right?
A Beautiful Disaster. Okay.
God, that episode. But Lance Henriksen. But if you watch all of them, you are going to see elements of the Fox in that episode. In what he wants to do with his camera, in what he wants to do with his music, in what he wants to do with lighting, and what he wants to do with guest stars. Every single element that he will bring to the signature Gubler style is all present in The Fox. Like this, he used this as his template, and then he went so far beyond it. Oh, unless you're talking about Gatekeeper. I forgot about garbage episode Gatekeeper.
That did not make my list.
It's not on anybody's lists.
It's on our worst episode list, though.
Oh, God, yeah. Absolutely. Like, literally, the dude gets killed in front of a building. No one's like, hey, I wonder if he, you know, was just in that building. I wonder if we should interview everyone in the building. It's such a terrible episode. All right. This one, next up, maybe it's on your list, maybe it's not. But I think it belongs here. Again, with no matter how bad it got with the sequel episode, it couldn't make my top 10 because the sequel episodes are so bad. But, god damn it, Minimal Loss. She's not telling me. It's Luke Perry.
It's that's what it's called. Okay, it's Minimal Loss. Yeah. I did debate it. The David
Koresh episode.
I understand. Yeah, the David Koresh episode. Mm-hmm. I couldn't push it into. It would be probably in my top 20. It's the best cult episode they've ever done.
100%. Now, to be fair, it along with Identity and Hero Worship are part of a trilogy of episodes that are about FBI agent, the show, trying to provide cover for horrible things the FBI did.
Yeah.
And there is an immoral part of the episode because that is the purpose the episode serves. It is trying to replace in your memory the horrible thing the FBI did with a fictional version of it where the FBI are the heroes. And they did that 3 times. And, you know, this one.
And we are not pleased.
We're never pleased when they do it, but I'd be lying if I said it isn't an amazing episode of Criminal Minds. It's good.
Yes, but it's never going to be one that I really want to watch again.
I get it. Yeah.
It's hard to watch because, and the discussion of Lawrence Pelche, I watched it.
Leonard
I did
Pelche.
watch it again. Yeah, Leonard Pelche.
Yeah.
I
get it.
No, the drive-bys. I don't know who thought all those.
And that was an
drive-bys.
appropriate thing to put in. I know.
Yeah,
I agree with you. But just as their best cult episode, as an amazing showcase for Luke Perry, you know, it's something else. But you're right, okay? It's not a moral episode of television, but it's a really good episode of television.
Yeah, but yes. Well, yes, and it's going to be interesting to see when we get to our top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How that factors in.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's something that I guarantee that you have already revealed to me is on your top 10, so we're just going to zip past. Big Game / Revelations.
Yeah, you put it on your... So we'll
Mine
discuss it later?
Yeah. We'll discuss it later. And here's, in a sense, the most controversial episode on my my 7 also rans. The most controversial episode by far, because it's from season 15. That's right. I have a season 15 episode. I put Saturday on there.
Yeah, you put the Aubrey Plaza one on there.
That's date night.
Oh, that's date night.
No, Saturday's the comedy episode.
Oh, yes. Okay.
No, I understand why you would think I put the Aubrey Plaza episode. You know how I feel about date night. But no, I put the comedy episode on. Not because it's a great episode of the show. I don't even think it is a great episode of the show. But it's like, it's one of two times in the history of the show, right? Where they actually, said, we don't just have to be the same show every week. We can do something different. These people have lives. We have earned enough trust in our audience to just look at our characters for an episode and they will come along with us. And I loved that. Okay.
I mean, it was an enjoyable episode.
It is an enjoyable episode.
But
I know. But it's not, it's never going to be in my top 10. But it's like, they took 15 seasons before they said, I think our audience will trust us enough to just hang out with these people for a week.
Okay.
And it shouldn't have taken them 15 years to come to that conclusion.
I know.
All right. So those are our also rans.
Let's start off. Our also rans there's not an awful lot of overlap in our also rans. Yeah, almost none. And so it's going to be interesting to see with our top 10.
All right.
There will be some overlap.
100% there is overlap in our top 10. Yeah. I can guarantee that.
Okay,
all right.
So
you start with your number 10.
And I will justify it.
Okay.
Okay, my number 10 is Nelson Sparrow.
I'm going to need to hear a justification for that.
Because I just rewatched it and I cried. Because it struck me as I'm not telling you that this is a great episode of television or anything like that. And I did not want to watch the serial killer and his
torturing
his
women
obsession.
To being birds. Yes.
Yes. Torturing women into being birds. No, I did not. In fact, I kind of whipped through those, but I thought it was in one way, it was a fitting end to Jason Gideon.
Okay.
And
all right.
I just,
and he never got one.
Choice.
He never got an ending. He never got an actual ending. I see your point.
And I thought, okay, they tried. Mm-hmm. It is a horrible, but it is when you start watching it, when you start watching and seeing him pick up that woman, right? Yeah. It is, it struck me in a way it's never struck me before. And this was just the last time, but I did not want to watch him turning her into a bird.
No.
I did not. I kind of whipped through those those parts of it. So I only focused on that. So I just thought it has to go in my top 10 because Gideon never got an end.
Yeah, and this is the ending. Okay, I get it. And the weird part is, like, this episode, for whatever I may say about it, right? There's a couple of interesting things. One, failed spin-off, failed backdoor pilot. Obviously, they wanted to do a young Jason and David, and the show didn't get made. Like, you watch it, there's no way to read this episode other than this is us attempting to do a pilot.
Those scenes were so good.
Oh no, they are good. I'm not saying they're not.
So good.
They're
very
good.
Of them
they are perfect.
Yes, as the young
versions of them. 100%.
Yes.
You know, because we never got Joe Mantegna and Mandy Patinkin in a room together. And it's tragic that we never got the two of them in a room together, given the caliber of actor these two men are. Like, that would have been incredible. And it's too bad, and this is the closest we got. I get that. I get it. But also, I will say I can see defending this episode, because when you and I were talking about it, right? Like, seeing that they reveal in this episode, just in passing, that Spencer Reid hasn't talked to Jason Gideon in like a decade.
Yep.
Like, that is such like a bleak thing to do, because it tells you so much about Jason Gideon as a character and like so much about Spencer Reid, that it's like, because he didn't chase Jason Gideon down. He was ready for his father to leave him again, because that's what fathers do.
Yep.
Wow. And that's like, they didn't have to put that line in. As we said, we were talking about the episode, they could have said, oh, we meet for chess once a month, or we talk on the phone. No. Jason went away and he stayed gone, and Spencer Reid thinks that's all he deserves.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was as I said, if you just eliminate the serial killer part of it.
It's a good, no, you're right. You take away the bird killer. Do you want to hear the crazy part? Like how amazingly parallel these lists are starting off? My 10th episode is an episode where it's like, let's just not pay attention to the killer at all. Right?
The Boston
and just talk
one?
about, no, weirdly. Although, I mean, it's weird that the Boston one didn't end up on my list, because you know how much I love Bill Sadler. But, no, it's going to be one that you never would have thought was on the list. But again, it's talking about...
Your number 10 is...
My number 10 is Last Gasp. A title that I'm sure means nothing to you.
No.
It's the episode where none of them are working together because, you know, the woman from an OPR has broken up the team.
Oh, I decided not to...
And Penelope finds a killer and they all have to get back together.
Yes, I looked at that and I went, nah.
It's one of the most unpleasant killers they've ever done, up there with Bird Lady Man.
Yeah.
But the fact that the episode, it's Adam Rodriguez's first episode as a director. And the fact that this man, like, made his first episode of director be the first time they had attempted to do comedy in the show, right? But also, like, the first time the show just looks honestly at who these characters are and what's going on. You know? That depicts David as a guy who, if he didn't have to be in the FBI, would just go and, you know, hang out with celebrities in Hollywood. The fact that it admits that, you know, let's face it, Emily would just drink. That Tara would be unsatisfied working as a therapist because she needs this thrill in her life. And my favorite, of course, that the show admits that Spencer Reid looks like a male model. You got a show that for 13 years has pretended that he's not being played by a male model. And Adam Rodriguez is like, no, like, look at this man. You can't pretend he's not gorgeous. And so, yeah, it was the show being completely clear-eyed about what the show was. Like, not just the show, but the meta level of the show. And I had to respect that, because that is a level of self-awareness that you just don't get from the show enough. And that's why I love it. All right.
Okay.
Number 9.
My number 9 is the one that I had, Henley Waters, or 7 Seconds.
Oh. Wait, which one is 7 Seconds?
7 Seconds is the one that takes place in the mall.
Oh, the
Where the
abducted
little
child. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I mean, I look like a chump for not putting this on either of my lists. You are objectively right.
Yeah, I kept switching because I put them on little sticky notes, right?
Yeah.
To move them around, right?
What belongs on the list? I just kept cutting and pasting in my Word document.
Yeah. So what happened was, in the end, it was 7 Seconds.
Yeah.
And because that was a really powerful
Well, they're about the same.
episode.
And as you said, they're about the same thing.
Yes.
In many ways.
They are in many, many ways. And this was just it. I mean, I go back and I watch it. It is hard to watch, even when you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because Patricia's performance is
next
out
level.
of this world.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, next level in 7 Seconds. And and the mother, the horrible, horrible mother who tried to kill this child.
Well, and I mean, and that's the thing that sticks with you about this episode.
Yes.
Is like how far you will go to protect the abuser.
Yeah. And that is, anyway, that you have more than once, but
yeah. Well, no, it's not the only, you're right. It's not the only time they bring it up. But yeah, like that idea of how far will you go to protect an abuser is horrific, but it needs to be talked about.
Yeah. And this episode was just, so as I said, and so Hanley Waters got into my runners up.
Yeah. No, I get why you would put this over Hanley Waters. Okay. This one, we already promised we were going to talk about it. To Hell and Back.
To Hell and Back.
I know. Like, I know people don't think
you
of it
had
as
it
one
as
of the
9.
highest. I had it as number 9. That's my number 9. Yeah. And I know people don't think of it as a top tier episode, but he is so good.
Well, Garrett
Dillahunt is so good in this episode. It's incredible, and he's literally can't move from the neck down.
Yeah, it's the only reason I didn't put it in my top 10 because, well, you see it got into my runners up.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't put it in my top 10 because the Canada stuff just
I know
was too much for me to put it in my top 10. I'm going, but it was a great episode. It was and the fact that he did this to his brother, the manipulative SOB. Yep. And it is, I mean, they did it in Canada because they were doing a Canadian story.
Yep.
You know,
it's the Picton Farm episode.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Robert Picton, who is now dead.
Yeah.
And, that was what kept it out of my top 10.
No, it's interesting because we did, in a sense, and plus, amazing cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah. Oh, jeez.
Amazing cliffhanger. Return of the Reaper. That's the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But the thing is about this one, it's incredible. He's incredible. But it's weird how the exact thing that happened was you had a 2-parter. We each had the same 2-parters on our lists, except you bumped to Hell and Back to your honorable mentions. I bumped Big Game Revelation to honorable mentions.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah, but it was the same. Like we were dancing around the same 2-parters.
Yep.
All right, next up.
Oh, mine?
Your number 8.
My number 8 is Pleasure Is My Business.
Again, if it would have been if I knew my honorable mention could have been longer, I would have no excuse for not putting it on my honorable mentions. Like, yeah, Pleasure's My Business is fantastic. It's one of the episodes where we talk about how our rewrite is the simplest thing.
Yes.
Like you make one tiny change to that script and it is one of their best episodes ever.
Yeah, it would be right up there in the top 3.
Yeah, if they made that
it wasn't
one
for,
change.
Yeah.
If her motive wasn't her dad, marrying some lady.
Yeah, that was dumb. That was dumb. That's not enough motivation, and we've discussed this more than...
We have spent an hour just talking about this episode.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do it again now, but yeah.
It was a
so
brilliant episode. It tracked all the way until you got to that.
Yeah, that one element, that one stupid part of it. But no, it is one of their best episodes. And you make that one change. You make it so she was molested her entire childhood by her dad, and her dad, tossed her aside for, a younger woman who looks like her. Boom, done. Yes, this is this is top 3 all-time episodes. Yep. All right.
You're number 8?
I'm surprised. I mean, you might have this a little higher. But I guarantee it's on your list, and if it's not, I'm going to be ashamed. Normal.
It's on my list, so we'll talk about it when we get there.
All right, you're number 7.
Okay. My number 7 is The Lesson.
On my list. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So now,
we're going to talk about what we value in episodes, I think, as we get higher, right?
Yeah, so it's my 7. It's higher for you.
It's higher for me. All right, so here's my 7.
Your 7?
I'm going to be interested to see if you have this. The Crossing.
No, I don't.
I'm shocked. Well, not that shocked, because it's an easy episode to overlook. But the problem is it's only half of the episode. Because the stalker part is just nothing. There's just nothing.
Okay, that's the Boston one I was talking about.
Oh, I thought you meant the one with the... Oh, I thought you meant the one with the serial killer.
It's on my crap list. Like my first crap list.
Yeah.
And I have it on that list, and I sat there, and where is it? Where is my crap list? Yeah. But anyway, I have it. And I put it there, and I thought, no, I can't just put half an episode.
I did put half an episode. And the weird part is, you know what I almost did?
It was so brilliant. It was so brilliant.
The Hotch and David half of the episode about spousal abuse is one of the best 20 minutes they've ever done.
Oh, it was brilliant.
But it's only half an episode.
Pull that out. Yeah.
And just use it as an educational tool.
Yeah, you could.
That's how good that half of an episode is. But but the thing is, I had 2 in my rough list. I had 2 half episodes on there.
Yeah.
Do you know what the other half episode was? And I was like, no, I can only do one of this once. And
I decided
think you
not
know
to do
that
it at all.
it's Reed and Hotch in the room with the killer. That was my other half episode that I almost mentioned. I'm like, no, you can't do half episodes twice.
No, I chose not to do
it at
once.
all. Yeah. No, you were more ethical with this than I was. I had to. I mean, just how meaningful I found The Crossing. I couldn't not do it. I just, that has never stopped sticking with me. That woman's performance, right? And Hotch's response.
Oh.
It sticks with me to this day. When I think, it's one of the first things I think about when I think about Criminal Minds. And the only reason it's not higher is because it is just half an episode.
Yeah.
I love it so much. All right. You're number 6.
That's where I put Big Game and Revelations.
Okay, good. That's a good placement for it, I think. I would be weird if it was higher, and I think you're going to think my 6 isn't high enough. But yeah, let's talk about Big Game and Revelations.
Well, the thing is I didn't even like Big Game.
No, it's not a good episode.
I didn't even want to put the first half of it. That's 2:14, eh? Yeah. And because I did put the numbers for these episodes down. Mm-hmm. I don't like Big Game at all. No. It does set everything up for Revelations.
Yeah.
I just think that Revelations, okay, maybe part of me, when we talk about it, I go, yeah, there's so many bad things. But the point is that Vanderbeek and
Matt Googler.
and Greg Googler's interaction in the second part was so good. Yep. I mean, the rest of it was crap, them finding the things out and trying to figure it out. And that performance, the multiple personality disorder,
mm-hmm.
as it was structured, and the fact that Spencer Reed was forced to confront, even if we didn't understand that. And you know that when he takes the heroin.
Yeah.
Or, quote, the Dilaudid.
Dilaudid, because they didn't want to say that he... Yeah, I know.
Jeez, yeah.
As if it matters which opioid he's shooting up, guys. You know?
Yeah, well, Well, no, heroin is better than opioids. It's easier to get off heroin than it is to get off fentanyl.
Yes, than it is. You're absolutely right. Oh, my God. But
hence the opioid crisis that we have.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, but you know what's not on either of our lists? The opioid crisis episode. The garbage opioid crisis episode.
Well, yes. Then we send people off to watch Josh Stewart's
his movie.
His B
Back
movie.
Fork. It's called Back Fork, and it's delightful. Yep. Well,
yes.
not delightful, but it's very
and
good.
JJ's in it to boot. Yeah, so, you get double Criminal Minds there.
It's true. All right. My number 6, Strange Fruit.
Oh, okay. We have to talk about that. We might as well talk about it because it's your number 5.
Oh, perfect. Couldn't have worked out better.
Yeah, it's my number 5.
Okay.
It is a powerful episode. No matter how you, and it's funny, because 2 of the episodes in mine, I was going to say, are almost black box episodes, right?
Yeah.
7 seconds because it's only set in a mall.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, basically. And but Strange Fruit was just too good.
It is too good.
It deals with a horrible
mm-hmm.
aspect of slavery, the
aftermath
from
of
slavery.
Yeah. The institutionalization of racial violence in American culture.
Yeah.
And it looks at it unflinchingly. And
it was amazing. And I can remember when we talked about it, and the only reason they got to do it, I'm sure, was because they were running out of money.
And they're just like, we need one with only 2 sets. Done. Janine Sherman Burrois, if you got something, and she had something.
Yeah. And the funny thing is they called it Strange Fruit. She had never heard the song Strange Fruit.
That is so crazy.
To me, it was, and you can go and listen to our discussion of the episode.
Yeah.
It was strange. How could you not have ever heard Billie Holiday or Etta James? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. These different people singing that song, Strange Fruit, hanging, right? There isn't anything else you can say about it.
Other than it is a perfect episode. It really is. And the thing about it is, one of my, longest running things on this show is talking about how, you got a Ferrari there in Joe Mantegna and you leave it in first gear all the time. And I often talk about how it's like when this show gives Joe Mantegna the opportunity to just bring it as an actor, it is such a beautiful thing to watch. And that's exactly what this episode is for.
Yeah, I mean, this was it from beginning to end, and I mean, he, as he says, I just go watch it, everybody. Yeah. Just go watch.
We talked for ages about this. Listen to our episode, watch the episode. It's that good.
Yeah.
It really is. It is unflinching.
Yeah. And then she went on to do Claws, but
yeah, that's another conversation.
Anyway, no, the first couple of seasons were fine, then things go haywire,
sideways. It happens. All right.
Your number 5?
The Lesson. You want to talk about a masterpiece performance?
You put it higher than me.
I put it higher. Well, no, because this is what I wanted to talk about. And this is why I brought it up when you said The Lesson. It's about what we value, right? And, oh my God. Like, I understand why you would put, Strange Fruit higher. 100%. Like, I don't even disagree with you, on your logic. But for me, the artistic spectacle that is this episode.
Yeah. Like, it is stunning. I mean, maybe I should put it to 6. I'm going to switch it to 6.
Switch it. Yeah.
I'm going to switch it to 6.
But it's the artistic spectacle that is The Lesson wow, like you can't take, like, and the casual awfulness of, like, that weird scene at the beginning of the episode where the nurse is going to murder a man when Brad Dourif wakes up. You didn't have to start the episode that way.
Nope.
Like the cruel vibe that just of sickness that radiates around this entire episode, and Brad Dourif's desperation, and then Matthew Gubler's decision to, like, let's pause and have a musical number. You know? And this is why you hire a ballet dancer, right? To be an actor in a thing, so that you can do that. So you can have that scene. I mean, this is an episode which from beginning to end is a feast for all of the senses. Yeah.
And I the only reason that I will say that I didn't put it higher was because I am so fond of Brad Dourif that I felt that might be affecting my judgment.
I get it. I mean, we are obsessive about Brad Dourif. I get that. But I don't think you were. I think this is... There's only one on my list. I'm just spoiling now. There's only one Matt Gubler episode higher than this. And, well, we'll talk about that when we get there.
When we get there,
in fact, next on my list. Surprise, surprise. Okay. But anyway, you're number 4.
My number 4 is Profiler Profiled.
Okay, well, that's on my list too. So let's keep going.
Okay. So my
we've
number
already
3.
No, we do my number 4.
Oh, we do your number 4. Yes.
Yeah. My number 4 is Moseley Lane.
Yeah.
And because, again, it's that moment, right? Where you're watching an episode and you're like, I didn't know Criminal Minds could do this. You know? Like, I didn't know the show that we were watching, because it's 5 seasons in, and it's his first episode. And you're like, this is something I didn't know the show was capable of. Like, being this strange and mystical and going all the way into... No, we're giving up on all of the look and feel of a police procedural, and now we are making a dark fantasy horror film.
Yeah.
And it's just what it said about the potential of the show, what the show could be. Like, how could I not put it this high? Is my thought, just because it is like the revelation. It is like a revelation. And it is a thing the show rarely ever did. Rarely ever made it this high again, and only when Matthew Gubler was directing. But it's like, he showed that you didn't have to just be a show about serial killers. You could be a show about serial killers that was a feast for every sense, as I just talked about.
In the lesson.
Yeah. And this is where, Matt Gubler reveals himself as an artist. And yeah, I think it needs to be that high just because of that.
Okay.
All right.
I'm not going to disagree with you at all.
All right. Let's do
My
it.
number 3?
Number 3.
I'm not sure you're going to agree with this.
I'm definitely not after that hesitation. What is it?
I put No Way Out.
Well, that's my next one up. So yeah, that's fine.
Oh my God. Oh
fine. No, it's my number 2. Like, it's my number 2.
Oh God.
No, so we're very much on the same page. We're very much on the... Okay, I'm glad to
So
hear.
your number 3 is Normal.
No, I already had
your
Normal.
Number 1 is Normal. Okay.
I already had Normal. We already talked about...
we're not talking about Normal because...
We already had... I already said my Normal is there. I think it's your 2 or 1. I put it as number 8, which is weird, given my feelings about Normal, but I think I've made a strong argument for everything above Normal. No, my 3 is one that apparently... again, I think I spent a lot of time making this list thinking about this show as like the story of Dr. Spencer Reid, right? Because my number 3 is Sex, Birth, Death.
I debated that. Episode. Oh God, I debated that.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really debated putting Sex, Birth, Death in there.
Yeah.
And I probably didn't because I'm still so mad at Spencer Reid.
I know! But the thing is,
I am still so you're right. It should be in my runners up, but I know I looked at it because what I did is I just went down through.
You went through the
IMDb
list,
looking
yeah.
at, right?
Well, that's what I did too.
And I'm just going sex, birth, death, and no, I can't.
It's so important to who Spencer Reid is, and
Yes.
it's an incredible performance by Anton Yelchin, and it is so tragic that his character in this episode,
Yeah.
like, it's just who desperately doesn't want to be what he is and doesn't know how to stop.
And his mother is
a monster. And
Yeah.
Spencer Reid reveals himself to be a monster too.
Yeah.
Oh, what an episode. But I understand why
The
you
same
left
way.
it off. I understand why you left it off,
Yeah.
but I couldn't. Like, 'cause
no. I'm not even going to fight you on this.
Okay.
I am not going to argue with you on this because, to me, it was the very fact that I left it off is, as I said, I'm still so angry about that episode.
yeah.
I'm angry at his mother.
Mhm.
I am angry at Reid. I am
Spencer
angry
Reid,
at Reid
yeah.
for not dealing with his mother issues.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of things.
Well,
But
no,
it was
it's like-
213. It
yeah,
was
it's 213. And
no,
that's
it's
213.
never mind.
Okay.
Go on.
All
Whatever
right.
sex, birth, and death is.
It's like 212 or 211 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
All right.
debated putting it in, but and it's when we find out. And I guess now here is, because we have watched the whole thing more than once.
Yeah.
That when you get because at the time, the first watching of it.
Yeah.
It is not it doesn't strike me in the same way that after
it does
we learn
after you
all
built
of the
up.
stuff.
Yes. Until you've
the
done
Reid.
the construction of the character of Spencer Reid, it doesn't play
Yeah.
as hard.
No,
But
it doesn't. And now it just plays so hard because his mother is the same kind of a mother.
exactly.
And she is destroying his life. Now, yeah, he didn't become a serial killer. Well, guess what?
just by luck,
Just
he
by
had
luck.
the potential. He had all the potential necessary to become a serial killer.
But I think that his father was
And
a
he
nice
sure
man.
as hell manipulates that man into trying to kill himself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
know?
There's no question. So there's
He's
this
got it in
fury to, after all of this, to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Because the Spencer Reid character does change over time. Not enough,
Yeah.
but that's a whole other story. And you can go listen to our 2-hour.
Episode about Dr. Spencer Reid.
Yes.
But that's
and the
why this
meta-narrative.
episode is so important to me, because
Yeah.
when you look at the whole show, everything that happens in this episode in his character is completely consistent with all the development that happens afterwards.
Oh, yes. I'm not. And it's remember that this is still, early on. And so what's happening, right, is this is before I go, is Spencer Reid suicidal?
I know, but it's there.
You know?
Him
But
trying to
it's-
get Anton Yelchin to kill himself is him telling himself.
Yeah.
That's what it is, because he tries to get Anton Yelchin to kill himself, and then he feels bad about it when Anton Yelchin does it. And
Tries to do it.
Well, tries to do it, yes.
Yeah.
Tries to kill himself. But that's him talking to himself. It's the
Yeah.
only way to read that episode. And you might say, well, they weren't thinking about it at the time. No, but they certainly developed the character that way.
And whether they understand that or not, like the meta narrative
Yeah,
of
the meta-narrative.
Criminal Minds,
It is consistent. It is
Yeah.
weirdly rock solid.
Yep.
All right, let's do it. Normal. Your number 2 is normal. You've already revealed your number 2 is normal. So
Yep.
let's talk normal.
Oh, well, we've been talking normal. We just talked normal last
For
week.
like 10 minutes last week. I know.
Did you? How anybody can think that Piranha
Is better than normal.
can stand up
No.
to normal is beyond me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I may offend fans who love Piranha. The only excuse I made is the same excuse that people have not seen normal
Recently, yeah.
recently. You go back and watch that, and that is just the perfect breakdown of everything going wrong even after his daughter dies. It just continues to go wrong.
Worse and worse, because all of his conceptions about himself, about what masculinity is in America,
everything.
All of it has been torn away from him. And what does he have left? All he has left is the performance of masculinity.
Yeah.
And it gets worse and worse and more violent.
Yeah.
I mean, him in the leather jacket asking, what is a man? In the leather jacket and the glasses and the shotgun. And it's like going out to hiding in his garage from his family. Like, everything about it is so well observed.
Yep. Everything about that episode is...
It's perfect.
I was going to say perfect, and I hate to use that word about these domestic violence things, but it shows you the social conditioning and what social conditioning does.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so destructive, and it is so well played by Mitch Pileggi.
I think it might be the performance of his career.
It's a tour de force performance, and it overtakes everything in that episode. Yep. It's like the entire team are bit players.
Yeah. Just so you can just sit there and watch this man.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can watch him interacting with his family and watching his wife get this promotion and watching, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it. And the funny thing is that they tried that again with our beloved Tim.
Who?
That was on, that ended up on
waiting patiently.
Magnum PI.
This is so weird.
Chinese, Korean.
Oh yes, the Arlington Road episode.
Thank you.
Yes. The Arlington Road episode. Cho from The Mentalist. Yes, Tim.
Yes.
Tim Kang. Tim Kang.
They
do a little bit of it in that episode.
See, I got you.
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay.
They do. They are definitely thinking about normal in that episode.
Yes, and it's not as well done.
No, it's not.
This one was still, it was season 4 still.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Tim Kang episode, again, really great performance in a mediocre episode.
Yeah, but this episode
is all cylinders.
To end.
Firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And it's that you can't take your eyes off of Mitch Pileggi the entire hour.
No.
He's so incredible. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I had it at 8, you have it at 2. I can defend my position, but anyone looking at this objectively would say you were the one who was right. No, do you know what, in a way, the greatest compliment I can give the episode Normal is?
What?
They did it for Criminal Minds Korea, and they didn't change a thing.
No, it was,
Every other episode they adapted, there are alterations. There are no alterations to the episode Normal. It is exactly the same episode
which
beat
means
for beat. They recognized what it was, and they recognized how powerful it was, and they recognized that, not only is this one of the best episodes, we don't have to do anything to it.
No.
That's the incredible part. We don't
and
have
it
to
just tells you
it.
that toxic masculinity is
a universal trait.
Yeah.
You go anywhere you go, you can find toxic masculinity is the message of Normal. Oh, it's so perfect. All right.
And
now we can talk about it. No Way Out.
Let's talk about No Way Out. And it is because it again, when they do these, I don't like black box. It means there's nothing.
No, this one has more.
This one has more, but it basically is so well structured from beginning to end. I don't feel like there's really Frank, the interaction between Frank
and Jason
and Jason is just so powerful.
It's one of the best written things there's ever been on the show.
And the woman who plays Grace, just you believe it. Who would think you would believe it? You buy it completely.
You don't even care of the thudding aptronym that is naming the character Grace.
Grace, yeah.
The thuddingly obvious aptronym that is calling this character Grace. No, you buy it. You
buy
believe it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's incredible from beginning to end. And no matter how bad the evolution of Frank is.
Oh,
right.
God.
No matter how bad that, it can't kill what they pull off in this episode. Keith Carradine with an incredible performance. The script that is rock solid in every detail. It is clockwork in its precision. Everything makes sense. And you're sitting there and you're like, no, I don't understand how they can get out of this. I don't understand. Like, it puts them in a position. And they can't. There is no way. It's right there in the title.
If you want to save the children.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but...
Well, no, but he knows. He knows what people value, right? He knows what buttons to push, right? He understands. Oh, it's so good.
And they did save the children. And that's what makes it... If those children had died, if one of them had been hurt or died, this episode would have been crap.
No. But the fact that the thing that makes it so much harder is that he is offering a fair deal.
Yes.
He is.
All he wants is Grace, and Grace wants to go with him.
And then he will leave, and you will never see him again, is what he says. And then we get a bad sequel to it.
Yes.
No, it's incredible.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's talk Riding the Lightning.
So you put it at number 1.
No, you did.
I did, yes.
Yes. No, I didn't. You know,
okay, where did you put it?
If you've been paying attention. No, I didn't put it on the
list.
You
didn't put it. I kept hoping it was going to be.
No, I didn't put it on the list because I knew you were going to. And I didn't want to waste a spot. I don't think it's bad. I think it's incredible, but I didn't want to waste a spot. There, done. I knew 100%. There's an episode I wanted to make sure we talked about. So, like, every episode here I wanted to make sure we talked about. And even though we were doing this completely, away from one another, I knew you were going to make, Riding the Lightning number 1. So I didn't have to put it on my list.
Oh, okay. Because Riding the Lightning is as
powerful an episode as they have ever done.
Yeah. I have watched it again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where I'm just happy to admit I was wrong about it. I was wrong. I am fine admitting I was wrong. No problem at all. No, it's that powerful. It's that great.
When you look at those performances and when you look at the writing of that episode, and Gideon finally acquiescing to her allowing herself allowing her to die, even though he knows that her son is alive, because that's what she's going to the gas chamber for.
Yep. The one
is
thing
her murdering her child.
Yep. And she will sacrifice her life so that her son never has to know who he is.
Yes.
So he will never be burdened because the child of this serial killer died. We know he died because his mother was put to death for killing him. So we know that child is dead, and so no one will ever possibly conceive that there is this, I mean, there's only one way to describe it, original sin tattooed on this boy.
Yeah.
Like that is so, it's so
unbelievably
profound. It is.
And it was so profound and you can see why Gideon was willing to, in that first year and the second year, if they just hadn't given him that horrible script for the evolution of Frank.
Yeah.
Because the performance he put in. I mean, it was the one thing for the mother, right? All of them. But
Jason Gideon in that episode
is just unbelievable. And the way they open it with him crying as he's at the concert watching this child play the cello. Well, he's not a child anymore. He's 17 or 18.
17 or 18. Yeah.
You know?
Oh.
And he's crying.
Masterpiece.
It's just a masterpiece of an episode. I don't even remember who wrote it, but it's a masterpiece.
It is. It's as good. Again, I say that, I say LDSK was their first great episode. This is the first episode where you're like, this show can be, because again, this episode, there's no killer this week. There's no
Nope.
crime to solve this week.
Nope.
It's just about the characters. It is there. Oh God, how am I blanking on the name? It is literally there. Like one of our favorite Millennium episodes with the guy who's going to jail for the murder for killing his family. Who's going to be executed for being a family annihilator, but his wife did it because he was secretly gay.
Yeah.
That's this episode.
Yeah.
That is this episode. And you're like, oh my God, Criminal Minds. And again, this is not a thing they would pursue. The idea of doing something completely different, right?
Yeah. And that's, and I
it's
think
a tragedy.
What happens is, this is why we got so, if people listen
Yeah.
to our, all of our, podcasts about and
Criminal
going
Minds.
forward, and you see as we start to get to episode 11, 12, and 13, and well, no, the way to do it is just go listen to our episodes on Beyond Borders and the raging
That we have. Because of yeah.
Oh, and if you wonder why, when they can do an episode like this, when they can do an episode like Strange Fruit, when they where at least in Strange Fruit you also had sort of a murder.
Yeah,
there
was a murder being solved there, but that's not a series of murders, in fact. But that's not what the episode's about.
No, and when they can do that and they pull it together, and of course, I know what your number one is.
Well,
it's okay.
You know
but I know what your number one is.
Get there in a second.
And what happens, right, is that when they can do those episodes, it's what kept us
watching.
Probably
we knew they had the
watching.
potential.
There was a potential, and we will not go into who I blame for all of this.
That's a whole other conversation.
Yes, because season 16 and 17 are doing extraordinarily well, so I'm happy. Yeah. But when you look at Riding the Lightning, which was just, and even LDSK was so different.
It is.
From, I mean, Edward Bernero, whatever his vision was.
He was willing to take interesting chances with the show.
Yeah. And
in a way that the show got very formulaic and less interested in taking chances the longer it went on.
Yeah.
And now I would say that spirit of experimentation is back.
Yes, well, as I'm doing this, I'm going, well, we'll just wait and see what they do with season 18.
I know. As they've announced that they want more Killer of the Week. I know. You're not wrong.
And I'm not, just remember how unhappy I am with Piranha.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna, again, we've already, litigated Piranha. We don't have to keep talking about Piranha. But I don't think you're wrong to feel that way, because I feel exactly the same way.
Yeah. And I'm, and then doing this, like I'm talking about Riding the Lightning and I'm starting to cry.
Yeah. Because of how powerful it is. And you just don't get that from Piranha.
I mean, there hasn't, well, yes.
Well, no, but it's like,
and it's not like normal. And, I have loved season 16 and season 17.
But they're not making us cry.
No, they're not making me cry.
No, and I do understand you saying that, and I don't even think you're wrong. But I think you can be a great show without devastating people emotionally. And for lack of a better word, there are people who were devastated emotionally by Piranha. They were wrong to be, but there are people wwho had that effect. Right?
Well, it did, but for different reasons. Probably for different reasons. And, it's, and I'm sure that pushing, the envelope of the baby, also dying and the mother, and that's what got to people more than anything else.
Maybe, yeah.
I just think that rather than, cause Lord only knows, did we even see him kill his family?
No.
In normal? No, we didn't.
No, because remember, we see him going up to the door.
Yes,
right? And then we cut away.
Yeah.
And then when he realizes his family's dead at the end, we see the rest of the scene.
Yeah. And so we don't even know that, right? And we never see it. And whereas the focus in Piranha on these horrible methods of death that he's doing against these guys, along with everything else that's wrong with the show.
Why did he even come up with this? Why did he build why didn't he just shoot these men? Why is he building a box full of, like, acid to melt people's corpses? Like, what is going on? Well, he wants to completely destroy himself. You know, fire does that just fine. Like, why is this?
Well, I'm going.
They came up with an interesting way to kill people, and they built an episode around it.
Yeah,
that's what happened. Sorry, it's just we
So,
don't like Piranha, everybody. So let's start talking. And here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. Do you realize that my top 3 episodes all aired back to back? 211 is Profiler Profiled. 212 is Sex, Birth, Death. 213 is No Way Out.
Is Profiler Profiled?
211.
I have it as 212.
Well, I have it backwards then. Maybe it was Sex, Birth, Death, Profiled, and then No Way Out. But the point is, the main point I'm making, that they all aired back to back, is accurate. Like, that's true. Isn't that insane?
Plus, wait a sec. That's your top 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's only because of Riding the Lightning. But if you had stuck Revelation, not Big Game, but Revelation in there.
I know! It's 215.
Yeah.
I know, it's crazy, but then you still gotta skip 214, but still. I know, it's crazy, right? They had an amazing run.
Sex, Birth, Death is 11.
Okay.
Profiler Profiled is 12.
Okay.
And No Way Out is 13. Yeah, no, I mean, that's was
an incredible run, is what I'm saying.
And I mean, I don't even have a problem with Sex, Birth, and Death being there. I made different choices, but
you get it.
Because it was a powerful episode, so much so that
well, I think I made my point, which is if you were talking about the arc of Spencer Reid, which is what we keep talking about as the most interesting thing in the show to us, that's where it starts. This is where the Spencer Reid arc starts.
Yes, and you only know that as we go along, and when you then do the meta narrative of Reid.
Mm-hmm.
The meta character.
Oh,
you know,
the meta character of Spencer Reid.
And this is the first time you really see just how damaged he is.
Yeah. But now let's talk Profiled. Hey! They're doing, like, this episode being, like, I almost don't know where to start. It's a perfect episode in many ways, right? But the thing that gets me is, it's right, like, so much of it is right there. And it's weird that I would put this higher than Sex, Birth, Death when I talk about it, because this episode is about the meta character of Derek Morgan that the show would never be willing to grapple with.
No, in fact, I read something really weird. In one of as I'm going through IMDb, there's comments, right? And it said something, and it makes Derek look like a bad person, like not about Profiled, but some other episode. And I'm going, like, but he is a bad person.
He's always
where
been
women
a bad
are concerned.
Person. He is. I was talking about this the other day on another podcast, just being like, you know, it's like, dude, this is a man who, like, had to be trapped into marrying a woman by her choosing to get pregnant. It's the only thing that got him to settle down and stop, you know, being horrible to women, is she trapped him.
Yes, and she knew what she was doing.
Of course she knew. She's a medical
it was the
doctor.
Only way. Yeah.
He was pulling away so she got pregnant. He was pulling away so she got pregnant. That's what happened. Yeah. The characters never say it, but come on.
JJ comes close to saying it at one point.
I know, but they never come out and say it. But even the show knows that's what happened.
Yeah, and more power to you, Savannah, if you want to be married to that man.
Yeah, JJ's pregnancy, 100% accidental. Like, I believe that was 100% accidental. I believe she's not on birth control and they were using condoms and it just happened.
Yeah.
Like, but she? No, that was on purpose. That was 100% on purpose. No, the reason I put it there is it's got so much to say about child abuse. It's got so much to say about, again, just like normal, about what masculinity is and about why male victims of sexual abuse can't come forward because society doesn't want to let them. That's what this episode is about. And they come back to it, and it's not even a bad episode when they come back to it either.
No.
It's not a great episode, but it's not bad.
Well, no, it's because that's when Derek comes out as a sexual abuse victim when he was a child. Yeah,
he has to because that's what the killer's going through.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know? Like he and the killer suffered the same trauma from the same guy, and now the killer is collapsing, is decompensating because of this trauma that has haunted him his whole life. Yeah. And
never talked to anybody about it.
Never talked to anybody, just hid it away. Star. And now, you know, that poor man. Oh,
yeah. The follow up, as you say, isn't great, but I mean, it at least was a follow up. Mm-hmm. Shamar Moore, I mean, they do a very good commentary if you can get the DVDs.
Yes,
it's a really good commentary. Shamar Moore is, you know, considers it one of the most important things he ever did. Yeah. And Andrew Wilder, who shows up in some of our other shows. Mm-hmm. Remember I was talking about Andrew Wilder? He was the writer with Bernero.
Not surprising. He's a good writer.
Yeah. And he was in the Morgan Brothers thing.
Yeah.
Writing. But it profiled. I don't think we can say it's something that people should watch. It is something that you keep banging the drum. Would you guys please
I know this is gonna sound...
take this seriously?
I know. The thing is, if you watch Profiler Profiled and you take the events of Profiler Profiled seriously, every interaction that Derek Morgan has with Penelope becomes tragic.
Yeah. Yep.
And every part of his bullying scumbaggery becomes tragic because it's all a persona he has generated so he doesn't have to deal with the trauma.
Yep.
Right? Of being molested. And imagine a show, and this isn't that show, but this is why it's so high and why I put it as number one. Imagine a show, right? Because of what it has to say and the depth it gives this character of Derek Morgan, whether the show wants to deal with that or not. But imagine a show that actually dealt with this. You know, imagine a show where he actually had to cope with what this meant for him.
Well, yes. And in some ways, go watch Will Trent.
Yeah. And that show I'm imagining is Will Trent. But I'm going to say, as a corollary, right? Yeah. Imagine a show where when he's talking to the ghost of his dad, one of the things he mentions, right, is that how much on some level he hates his dad because if his dad had been alive, he never would have been molested.
Yeah.
Imagine the show that was willing to go there. You know?
And it didn't. Yeah.
And it didn't.
No, and that, you know, I mean, that would at least let you know that there are these unresolved issues. He doesn't get therapy. What can I say about it? And this is a forever problem. Yeah. As I keep trying to bang the drum. Look, you never get rid of it.
Nope.
You never get rid of it. And it was really fascinating, like the follow-up episode.
Yeah.
When the police cop, right? When the cop goes up to him and apologizes. Mm-hmm. You know, no, Derek doesn't take it well, but as he said, if I had only realized, and like nobody wants to make this connection, this horrible behavior, this bad behavior is not just socially constructed, but the worst of it, you are looking at boys who were sexually abused and who have never dealt with it. You can't keep the secret, and men in our society have to, and in men in all sorts of other societies have to. Mm-hmm. Why do you think, you know, that I mean, there's so much out there, and this dealt with it up front, and then
back
it
the
is
hell
the
away.
problem. Yeah, it is the problem with the show that they didn't deal with it, and this is why the Black Queen did not make my lists.
I get it. No,
And
because
I just
of the
can't.
yeah, because of inappropriate workplace behavior is fine as long as it's consensual. No, it's not.
No, and the fact is that Penelope is so messed up that she can't figure out that this is, and some of his treatment of her was so bad. Like
you've just been mainlining the show, so you're seeing it all together,
all over again, right? And then people,
sabotaging her relationship with him, sabotaging her relationship with Xander.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want her. Because he doesn't want her to not be fixated on him.
Yeah,
that happened. Everybody, you can pretend it didn't, but it happened.
Yeah, and the whole and it is something that somehow this show could have been so much better.
Yeah,
because even Derek, when he goes before the media. Yes, he does that sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of. It looks like, and you can argue that he did this in solidarity.
Yeah.
And what I would say is, but that solidarity was twinged with he knew what was going to happen to his abuser.
Absolutely, he knows.
So he is what you would call an instigator of murder.
He is. Absolutely. The end of that episode, he instigated that murder. He made sure that happened. And I'm not going to cry a tear for him.
No. No.
I'm not going to cry a tear for the coach, right? But let's not pretend that Derek wasn't getting personal revenge for what happened to him as a child. I'm not even saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm saying we can't pretend that isn't what was happening.
Yeah. And that is the thing that, the funny thing is that doing this and looking at the episodes that between you and me, we stuck in our top 10.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going, this show had
such incredible promise.
Such incredible promise.
Yeah.
It could have been a show that was a police procedural, and unlike Law and Order, what do they call it now? Special Victims Unit instead of sex crimes.
Yeah.
Even that, frig.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
It pissed me off. But this show could have somehow or another, and please, I'm still asking, have Emily deal with her issues.
That would be nice. Hey, maybe that's what her sister showing up next season, her suddenly created sister showing up next season is going to trigger. Like her having to seriously look at her issues.
Well, we can only hope.
She's drinking at work.
Yep.
And the show's not even commenting on it. At least the show's commenting on her pot use. But she's drinking at work, and the show's not even notice it. Doesn't even seem to notice.
Yeah, but everybody drinks. Dave drinks too much.
He doesn't drink at work. He's not popping open a bottle of wine at the office.
To eat with her takeaway Chinese.
That's my point. This is problematic behavior.
Yeah, I know. And I think that's why I have to do Riding the Lightning always as my favorite episode.
I get it.
But this one...
You understand why I put, profiled high.
Well, because you had to put Sex, Birth, and Death in there somewhere.
I did. 100%.
Yeah, and I understand that completely. It's just my animosity towards Reed.
But you need it. You need Sex, Birth, and Death to understand Reed.
Yes.
And that's why I put profile, A, because it's so incredible, but B, because it's Derek Morgan's Sex, Birth, Death, except the difference is they never gave Derek Morgan the character journey that Spencer Reed got after Sex, Birth, Death.
Yeah.
Like within 2 episodes, each one of these guys gets a pivotal episode that can anchor an entire series worth of character arcs.
Yep.
And one of them gets that series and the other one doesn't.
Yes, and they screwed up with Jason by creating Evolution of Frank.
Yep, they really did. And they screwed up by Derek by not having him adopt Eric Close's daughter.
Yep.
Which was supposed to friggin' mirror what happened to him after his cop dad died. Every time they tried to give Derek, for whatever reason, like one of these plot lines that's going to completely transform him as a character, they cop out on it. And it frustrates me so much.
That may have been, here.
That could have been actor availability. I don't know what it was.
No. That could have been the actor's unwillingness to do that.
Who knows?
And everybody, you see, and the fans so loved this interaction between Shamar Moore and Kirsten Vagnus, or Penelope,
that they wanted it to be set on
Derek.
that. Yeah,
they wanted that, so they kept doing that, and it didn't give us. Yes, I mean, some of it was fun and it was sort of cute and all of the rest of it, but it was massively inappropriate and nobody ever called them on it.
And what really bothers me about the Eric Close's daughter thing is, then they turned around and they friggin' did it with Jennifer Love Hewitt in season 10. They did the plot anyway in a much less interesting way.
Talking about season 10, which I just finished.
I know.
It is so problematic. And I feel so sorry for Jennifer Love Hewitt.
She was walking into a meat grinder.
Yeah. And
that's all you can say. It was not a show that was built for her.
And it was, and okay, let's just talk for a minute.
Please.
And we will just, after we have this strange thing, like I'm looking at my shows, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, my episode, and you're going, okay, as I said, 1020 was the last I put, and that was in a runner up.
Yeah.
620 is in a runner up. I'm looking at this, and I've got 4 from season 2. Well, except that I didn't like Big Game, but it had to be there to set up.
No. I mean, it's a movie. You prefer the second half of the movie, but it's still a movie.
Yeah, and I had 4 from season 2.
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 from season 4.
Yep.
And then again, now, if I put 4 and then from season 4, it starts to add up when you put the runners up. 3 was a messed up season because none of 7 seconds.
7 seconds.
7 seconds
and
was in 3.
Was the crossing in 3? Or was the crossing in 4? I've forgotten now.
Well, I can go find out.
She's going to check for me. But anyway, the point you were making
was just that it's the early years that had the really powerful, like Pleasure Is My Business was 4.
Pleasure Is My Business.
Okay. Yeah. And, Children of the Dark. Yes. Well, season 3, 7 seconds was in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, Penelope is top rated.
How?
And I don't know how, but people love Penelope.
Yeah, they do.
And I think, I understand. And Third Life is there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm looking here for, what was Elephant's Memory?
It's the abused kid. The abused kid kills his dad.
That runs away with the boyfriend.
The girlfriend. Runs away with his
girlfriend.
girlfriend. Yeah. And kills the abusers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The Crossing was 318.
318. So, I did have an episode in season 3. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. 3's weird because it's the strike season. So, everything got thrown up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, no, and it's like, but that's why I had to put, to be clear, that is why I needed to put Profiled at number 1, because it's so powerful, it's so interesting, it says something so important, and it gives us this window into the show that could have been had Shamar Moore gotten to, like, had they treated Derek Morgan like they treated Spencer Reed, and yes, to a certain extent, Aaron Hotchner.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, at the end of the day, for whatever reason, Derek Morgan never got his depth, right?
Yeah, but maybe, well, as I said, I think that it would be because the fans
didn't want it that way. Yeah.
Didn't want it that way. And I'm not sure, like, well, you listen to Shamar Moore talking about Profiled.
Yeah.
And he is really proud of that episode.
Yeah.
When you listen to him doing the
commentary. Yeah.
Doing the commentary. And it is good.
Mm-hmm.
The commentary is good. He understands the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, and I don't know what his new show is like because I've never watched it. Yeah. Never watched it. And I can honestly say that is simply because of Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
And not because I wanted him to stay in Criminal Minds. That wasn't the issue. The issue was that the character, I will always see Shamar Moore
as Derek
Morgan, no matter what he's in. So I can't do it, right? I just can't do it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
get it.
If anything, his inability to deal with his past is why Savannah had to force the issue.
Of course it is.
Once she was pregnant, of course, then he would do the right thing because his mama raised him right.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean, that's basically what it is. And so all of the other ones with Derek and his family.
Oh, yeah.
It is a strange sort of phenomena for me to think about. Yeah, I mean, you do. It's not a typecasting thing in this case because I'm sure that his character. Well, I don't know. I have no idea because I haven't watched SWAT. Not one episode of it. I've seen things of it, but no. And he had the star power, and potentially he may have preferred the not dealing with it. Who knows?
Who knows? We can't say. We have no information about this, but the fact is, everybody else gets to dig into that character and dig into this stuff, and Derek Morgan never does, and we can't state why he never does, but all we can say is it's a disappointment, and it's why I put Profiling that high, because it is this window into how important the show could be at its best. And it is a tragedy that, like, we never got to, get the payoff for the setup that was Profile.
Yeah, no, it is because we do get, I mean, are we satisfied necessarily with the payoff with Reed? Reed has a lot of work to do still.
He does, yeah.
But you have this idea, but there is a development.
And I'll say this, like I always say whenever it comes up, the kind of exploring you could do in a prestige 6-episode miniseries, hint, hint, called Spencer Reed, that we'd be happy to write for you. About Spencer Reed being a professor at Georgetown and getting involved in a murder. And like having to dig in on the history of trauma that has defined his life. And you open it with his mother having died, and you go, and of course that's going to send him down a rabbit hole that's going to get real interesting.
Well, guess what?
What?
I think we will be doing Will Trent, because the more we're talking about this, the more I'm going. I have seen the first 2 seasons of Will Trent now.
Okay. I'll watch Will Trent this week. There you go.
Yeah, and there is going to be a season 3.
Okay. I'll get caught up on Will Trent, and we're going to talk Will Trent.
Because certainly that is an attempt. I mean,
to talk about this kind of trauma. All right, you know what? Stop talking about it. Save it for a Will Trent show.
Yeah, we're going to do Will Trent on a Tuesday. But yes, Riding the Lightning profiled is fine.
Yeah.
You don't.
I understand, but like I said, if I'm being honest, you're the one who changed my mind about Riding the Lightning, so I can tell you, if I'm honest, I'm going to put it, I'd put it at 4 and bump everything else down. And, just knock Last Gasp right off the list. The only reason I want to keep my trio of Sex, Birth, Death, No Way Out, and Profile exactly where they are. But if I were being honest, I'm bumping I'm knocking off Last Gasp. I'm bumping everything else down, all the same order. And Riding the Lightning's number 4. Because you're right. Everything you said about Riding the Lightning is right. I was wrong about it. You were right about it. Completely. But, I cheated. My list is a cheat because I knew we were going to get to talk about Riding the Lightning because it's your favorite episode of Criminal Minds. So I snuck in Last Gasp, so I had a chance to talk about Last Gasp as a real important episode, not just an honorable mention, which I think it is because it shows a self-awareness about how ridiculous the show is that is not, existing anywhere else in the entire history of the show. So I think it's important, but no, I mean, if I'm being honest, that gets bumped and we knock in Riding the Lightning at 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But yeah,
you switch my 1 and 4.
Yeah, that's where it would be.
Basically, and then you would have...
Yeah,
but basically we have... I mean, and I can't
it is not a
say
surprise that the top of our lists are very similar. The only thing that we didn't change is you put Normal higher than I did because I knew I was putting Profile at number 1, and both of them are episodes about the performance of masculinity. And so since I knew it was my number 1, I didn't want to have Normal that close to Profile.
Okay, now here's what I would be doing if I was going to shift mine around.
Yeah.
I would stick Revelation, so Big Game and Revelation would go in my runners up.
Yeah. And you put the Crossing in there?
No. I mean, as much as I love the Crossing,
it's still half an episode. I know.
It's a half episode. It would have to go in my runners up. No, I would put Sex, Birth, and Death in.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same page about that because
I mean, the Crossing, it's only because it was a half episode because it was, I don't know. It was, I guess it's because the other half of the episode was so
mediocre.
Blah.
Oh yeah, it's the Stalker episode. It's terrible.
Yeah, I know. It was just blah. And you put it against this really critically important episode, and it could have taken up the whole.
Oh yeah, and again, they should have made a whole episode. You didn't need this.
Yes, because it needed even more
room to
than
breathe.
It got.
Yeah. More time with the children, more time with her friends, more time with the thing. Let's delve into this woman's awful life.
Yep.
Let's make a whole episode just about her. But they felt they needed to have a murder mystery. Or not a murder mystery, but the equivalent of. They needed a thriller element. But they should have learned the lesson from Riding the Lightning that you don't.
You don't need it.
You don't need it. It's so powerful. You don't need it. The lesson they learned in Strange Fruit, where everybody's already dead. There's no threat in Strange Fruit. Nope. Nobody's going to get killed. There's no race against the clock. That's not what it's about. Nope. And you didn't need it in The Crossing, which is too bad, because they really could have, gotten there. But it's like, we always joke that the first time it became supremely obvious that, Spencer Reid is suicidal is, the time he walked into a house that was full of anthrax. But no, the first time we find out that Spencer Reid is suicidal is when he tries to drive a kid to suicide because the kid reminds him of himself too much. That's when we find out that Spencer Reid is suicidal.
Yeah, except that it's so strange, eh?
Yeah.
That you don't really
you don't notice it at the time. You don't notice it the first time, because how could you? But it's all perfectly consistent.
Yep.
It is 100% consistent how this character is treated and what this character's worldview is. It is completely consistent. All right, so that is our definitive top 10 lists. It's hard to say definitive because we have different lists, but I stand by that statement.
Yeah, we have different lists.
But we also, it's not a surprise that the lists also have a lot in common.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise because we do feel very similarly about the show, and these lists are very consistent with the podcast we've been doing about Criminal Minds for years now. So it's, I don't think any of the items on this list are going to be badly surprising to anybody. Right. But at the same time, I think it's worth mentioning. Like, that I'm really glad we did this exercise, because it really does put into sharp focus, what the strengths of this show are. Like, what is the best this show had to offer? And it's tragic that so much of that is the first 4 seasons.
Well, I will tell you, that when you look over this, so many of, say, my top 10 have very limited sets.
They are, no, because your top 10 are a lot about digging into the characters.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at Riding the Lightning.
That's when it's at
Normal,
its best.
No Way Out, Strange Fruit. Even The Lesson is limited. 7
Less
seconds.
limited than others.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, The Lesson and 7 seconds are less limited than the other ones, but they're still, I mean, it's basically the mall at 7 seconds. The Lesson is
this little small town that Brad Dourif's theater is in.
And
but we spend a huge amount of time with him in the theater. You're right.
In the theater. And then, but the only other main place that you spend any time is in the thrift shop.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and that's,
like, I completely agree with you that I think if there's one thing that we've seen with all of your episodes, you're right. It's like this real passion for when we dig in on the characters and say this is the most important part to consider. And because a good sign for when they're going to do that is how few sets they use. Yeah.
And the same thing with Revelations.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a pretty limited set.
Well, I mean, it's not. They go from you've got them and their thing. You've got James Vanderbeek on and killing people, but the meat of the episode are the scenes with him and Dawn Swayze and Spencer Reed in the shed where the whole episode, where the meat of the episode is.
Yeah, that's the second part, right?
Yeah, in that
there's
second
fewer,
part. There's fewer him running off to kill people. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
all right.
But it's so Simon Mirren did Riding the Lightning.
Oh, well, not a surprise there. Simon Mirren. He's had a lot
with
of great
Andrew
episodes
Wilder
under his belt.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully this gave you something to think about vis-a-vis what makes a great Criminal Minds episode. I know it has for us. We're going to be back here next week with, I don't know what, probably Shooter. We'll see what happens. Soon. We're going to talk about whether Will Trent gets turned into a Tuesday show or whether we slot it in between Shooter and Those Who Kill. Like we're going to do some behind the scenes stuff, so we don't know exactly what is going to go up when just yet, but trust us, there's good stuff on the way. I can guarantee we got a lot of really interesting things to cover, especially Shooter, which involves just an hour and a half of us talking about Josh Stewart. Just nothing but talking about Josh Stewart for an hour and a half.
Only in season 2.
That's the hour and a half I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And a little bit in season 3.
We have to get through season 1 first.
But the funny part about season 3 is it also features a lot of talking about how much better this would be if Josh Stewart were there. So no, there's more Josh Stewart talk in season 3
we rewrote the entire season 3.
Yes, if they had been smart enough to get rid of the FBI agent and keep Josh Stewart around. All right, so that is that. We will see you back here for that. If you have questions, if you have comments, if there's any profiling-related fiction you'd like us to check out, drop us a line at profilingcriminalminds@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Oh my God. We will see you back here next week for more Profiling Criminal Minds. But until then, I'll say that's right. Au revoir.
And have a good week.